Brownsville's southmost property owners is fed up. Rusty Monsey says more drugs are crossing on his land than ever before.
He says others in the area see it too, but he is the only one reporting it. Channel 5's Leslie Aguilar is live with more on that. Leslie.
Right now, Rusty Monsey says he's seeing an increase in activity from the river. He's also getting more calls about the activity, making him a liaison between authorities and his neighbors.
Rusty Monsey sees a lot of illegal activity.
The amount of drugs that are coming through is phenomenal.
His land is right on the river. The border fence is in his front yard.
They come over the fence. They climb over the fence.
Earlier this week, a Border Patrol chase on his land ended with agents confiscating drugs and the driver escaping back to Mexico. Narcotics are common in this area and in the neighborhood up the road.
I've got people that call me constantly because they are afraid it is going to be found out that they are reporting activities.
Monsey says he passes information on to Border Patrol. He doesn't mind being a messenger.
I have less to lose than they do. They're looking at their livelihood, they're looking at their kids, they're looking at their extended family, they're looking at their home and everything else.
Monsey is frustrated more isn't being done to secure the border where the fence ends. He says DPS troopers rarely patrol the area despite the state border surge.
They are taking monies and they're not working.
Border Patrol has admitted they're seeing a spike in smuggling attempts in Cameron County. We showed you some of the most brazen attempts in recent months. Monsey wants some of the law enforcement in Hidalgo and Starr counties to move downriver to protect his property from smugglers.
That's why that dog's tied. I don't dare turn her loose because I want to keep her alive.
He fears things will only continue to get worse.
You had mentioned to us back in April that you've also had some of your dogs that you had to protect your land. People coming across killed your dogs to get through.
They did. There was a pair, just dogs, brother and his sister. And they showed up one day and they went by the back door and laid down. I fed them. They stayed. They fell in love with the Border Patrol. They would go out with the Border Patrol and they'd lay in with them. And they would listen. And they would point out in which direction the wets were coming through. And they would bark. If somebody tried to get after the Border Patrol, those dogs would go after them. He nuts. We've ultimately, and the Border Patrol went, the dogs were well fed. You know. I missed the dogs. I missed them for a couple of days. Said, okay, fine. It's the season and they're out in the field somewhere. But as it came back was the fact when I was standing by the road and there was this kid going through and I recognized maybe one of the coyotes that was bringing people through. And he said that his boss in Matamoros had told him if he did not get to take care of those dogs and bring him his heads, that he'd get his head instead.
Wow.
The kid said he was leaving. He said he loved those dogs like they were his own dogs. He said that the dogs' heads were mounted in the boss's office in Matamoros.
It's horrible. It's just absolutely horrible.
Now, when my kids were young, I went out to the truck. I had some business to take care of, and outside we had this tree. And the dog that had wandered in. Old faithful dog, was older than me. And good watchdog, gentle with the kids, didn't bother anybody. I found the dog hanging upside down by his heels, alive. But he'd been skinned alive. And they had hung his hide right next to him, and he was still alive. I went into the house, I got a couple of things, I wrapped him up, wrapped it over the pistol, and I had to put him down.
Yeah.
I took him away and I buried him, and I lied to the girls and I said, no, old Foot here, he just decided to go someplace else.
Yeah.
And I found out this is what they were doing to the neighborhood to keep the people shut up.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. What you just saw was our good friend, an excellent American patriot, Rusty Muncie, who we had the privilege and honor of meeting going back almost 2 years now, when we were down on the border and doing investigations and so forth. And we came across Rusty, a landowner, as we were doing some film work along one of the border fences. And from there, we became friends. He opened up his land to us. He allowed us to go out on the Rio Grande there and basically, see what was happening. He shared his stories with us, allowed us to do night ops, and there'll be more to come with that in the near future, because he's agreed to allow us to use his land pretty much indefinitely, depending on the situation that he's currently in, which is what tonight's show is all about, where we basically went to Brownsville, Texas. I just got back late last night. We've been down there for 3 days trying to find him and then rescue him. He is alive right now, I'm blessed to say, because of the actions that were taken by some great people. I'd like to first give a shout out to my good friend, military combat veteran, Mike, who's also our security expert when we go out on these missions. He accompanied me on this trip. I swung by and picked him up on the way. He did some excellent work. There's just no way I could have pulled this off by myself, because there was no way to be in 2 places at one time. I was having to actually battle law enforcement to get them to realize what a threat we were facing and the dangers that we felt that Rusty was under. So Mike was able to be in one location while I was in another location. He was able to make phone calls where I was able to make phone calls. We were able to contact attorneys. We were able to contact and find friends and or family members connecting us of Rusty's. So let me tell you how this all started and how we ended up taking this spur of the moment trip down to Brownsville. Before I get into that, I will tell you that the last show we weren't able to do call-ins because it went a little too long. This will be different tonight, I promise you. Barring some unforeseen circumstances, we will do call-ins to the show for the second half. And the number and everything you need is down at the bottom of the screen to do so. Also, if you haven't already done so and you are new to the show, if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, please go over to douglasducote.com, which is our website, where you will find all types of stuff there that you can't find in the other social media platforms because it's not allowed, and or because they don't want the truth out there on a lot of things that we report on. And social media is cracking down on me, just like they're cracking down on a lot of other conservatives and Republicans. I've been banned for life on Twitter. I'm borderlining Facebook jail again. And I don't know how long I'll be on YouTube before they finally pull the plug. Sadly, the closer we get to 2020 election in November, the worse it's going to get. But I will continue to push out right here on YouTube, as well as douglasducote.com and on Facebook. And hopefully we'll be able to keep this going all the way through. But that is the reason why we did the .com, was so that as we get shut down on social media sites, people will still be able to go and find us and see what we're putting out, where we're going to be at, the investigations we're involved with, on and on. Plus, there's the Patriot Shop there where you can get cool stuff to help support the show. For instance, like this shirt that I'm wearing right here, which is just one of many different type designs that we have at the Patriot Shop. So please go over there to DouglasDucote.com and sign up and look at all the other links and different ways that you can help support all the work that we're doing. So, Rusty Monsing, let's start with what happened last week. I get a phone call from Rusty. Let me back up 3 months ago, actually. I get a phone call from Rusty saying that he was in the hospital. He was involved in a crash with his truck. His truck was totaled, and he was recovering. I went down there to check on him. They got him into rehab to basically learn how to walk again and recovering from his injuries. But we realized that once he was able to get released and go back home, well, now he's going to have no transportation to get to and from medical appointments or to go to the grocery store, wherever he needs to go without a vehicle. I had an extra vehicle, a truck that I have almost 400,000 miles on it. And I thought, you know what? I'm not using it. I only use it if in the event I need to maybe go to Home Depot and pick up something, wood or something, to do a project around the house that the wife has on a honey-do list. But other than that, the truck just sits there. I thought this would be great for him to utilize. So I brought the truck down there to him, and he was using it. So let's go back to about 3 weeks ago. I get a phone call from Rusty telling me that he was going to get married. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, you're in your 70s. And I know what his health condition is. So I found that kind of odd, because I was concerned whether or not possibly somebody was taking advantage of him by wanting to marry him. But that's not my place. All right. So I didn't go there. I didn't dig into asking about that. But he did say that all of his friends around the area were all against it and were telling him, do not do it. Do not marry this person. But he did anyhow. So maybe 6 days later, I get a call at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's from Rusty. And he says, Doug, I need help. I'm outside my house. I'm on the ground, and I can't get myself back up. I'm like, Rusty, what are you doing out at 2 o'clock in the morning walking around in your yard? And he basically just, he said, I don't want to talk about that right now. There's some problems happening, but I need help. So I said, okay, stay where you're at. I get law enforcement. I hung up and I called Brownsville PD, and they got an ambulance out there. They got law enforcement out there. They got him up. He was okay, and they got him back into his house. A few days later, I find out that he has been hospitalized. And at that point, he admits to me that he was being abused by this new person that he had married. And my worst fears came true as to what her intentions actually were. Now, I'm going to tell you this. She was 26 years old. She's Hispanic. Now, what would a 26-year-old want with an older gentleman like this, other than what he has once he passes? And that's exactly what was happening. Now, in Rusty's mind, and we talked about this, in his mind, here he is thinking, I have no family around me. I already depend on my friends for way too much. I'm in my final years on earth. What am I going to do if I fall, if I need help with my prescriptions, as my memory starts going and so forth? And to him, when this person approached him and talked about how she would take care of him in his final days, his final months or years, however long he happens to have, they would be there. They would help him do everything he needs to do, take him to the doctors, clean his house, on and on and on. It seemed like a win-win situation for him. So he did so. He married her. Well, I find out that he was in the hospital because of the physical abuse that she was dishing out towards him, and that she had a serious problem with alcohol. And when she would get upset, which is every time she drank, she took her frustrations out on him, an elderly man. So I got her information and I did some research on her, and I found out that she had a rap sheet as thick as, a War and Peace novel. It was unbelievable, the crimes that this woman had committed in just a very short period of time, because she's only 26 years old. A lot of assault and battery charges, against family members. And now I'm thinking, what else is she involved with? And sure enough, there were some other people, which I will not name, that linked her with the drug cartel over in Mexico, or at least one of the drug cartel. What they wanted was his land. And to get his land, he needs to die. And before he dies, someone that's connected to them, whether it's willingly or against her will, I don't know, but they needed to marry him, or at least that's what their thought was. And lo and behold, here comes this angel to take care of Rusty. So with that information, as a veteran law enforcement officer, that seemed pretty damn shocking to me. And I realized that it's just a matter of time before our friend is dead. Basically, as soon as he got out of the hospital, that would happen. That's what I figured. I contacted Mike. Mike agreed to go down with me, and off we went. On our way down there, we find out that he's been released from the hospital. But the hospital refuses to tell us who picked him up or give us any information. They would only give that to official law enforcement officers. Okay, no problem. We're going to go straight to Rusty's house and see what we can do. And when we got there, there was no Rusty. My truck wasn't there. The house was locked up. We looked around the property. We started checking with neighbors. We started going on Facebook, looking for his friends, trying to find out, does anybody know where he's at? Please contact us. Here's our phone numbers. And eventually, slowly but surely, people started contacting us. And everybody had the same story. Oh my God, do you know about this girl? As the day wore on and into the night, it was our belief that when we found him, he was probably buried somewhere on the property. There was a backhoe that was there on the property that was used because he allows a friend to take dirt from there and sell it, and that's how he gets part of his income. But it was my understanding that that person had not been out there in a few weeks. And one of the first things I did was I touched the engine area of that backhoe, and it was nice and warm as we had arrived. That tells me the backhoe had been used. And I see freshly dug holes and dirt piled over different areas. And the worst case scenario is coming to my mind. We don't know where she is. We don't know where he is. We don't know where the truck is. We're getting all these indications talking about drug cartel. So I needed to get law enforcement on top of this. I contacted Brownsville City Police Department, who then informed me that because of the location, exactly where his house was, it is literally like 20 feet outside the city limits. So they were no longer going to respond to that house. That would be the sheriff's office. I contacted the sheriff's office, and I don't want to, or let's just say I don't like to talk bad about fellow brothers and sisters in law enforcement, but I'll just tell you this much. It was the biggest runaround dog and pony show I probably have ever experienced in my life, trying to get them to understand the urgency of this. And eventually I'm told, listen, we're too busy. We've got other things going on right now. And you're telling me some old man has just been missing for a day? Come to us after 72 hours. I was pissed, to say the least. So I left Mike there and I drove to the sheriff's department, which was locked up. I went over to a little buzzer on the side of the, like a drive-in area, and I pressed it and told them who I was and what I was there for. And they told me that I needed to go online to contact them, or I needed to call on the phone. I said, I've already done that. I need somebody to come here now. They weren't willing to help. What else can you do? Well, I dialed 911. And I explained the situation to the 911 operator. And I said, I'm going to stand here. And I pray that you're recording this, as you should, because I'm dialing 911. I'm going to stand my ass right here, and I'm not moving, other than to talk to other news media outlets that I plan to bring here about how you guys don't seem to give a shit about one of those you're supposed to serve and protect. I want a deputy sheriff to come stand in front of me and hear me out, and somebody do something. At this point, we're running out of time. This 911 phone call lasted about 15 minutes of me literally trying not to lose my shit on the phone. They finally agreed to send a deputy. I wish I could get my hands on that 911 tape, because I would play it right here on this show. Now, all that being said, the deputy that arrives turned out to be a really great guy. And every deputy that we ran into from that point on, and there were several more, turned out to be outstanding law enforcement officers that wanted to help. Now, that's totally separate from their dispatch and the way I was being treated to start with. So now we're just going to put them off to the side. The deputy that responds tells me that when we had called earlier and asked for a welfare check on the house, he was the deputy that went out there, and that they encountered someone that identified themselves as a relative and said that Rusty was okay. And so they assumed that was the case. When I asked what the relative's name was, I was told the name of, and I'm not going to mention it because there's more involved here currently with investigations, but it was the name of the new wife, which made me even more suspicious. That she's telling the deputy, everything's fine, he's okay, you can leave. Now, they get, in that county, it's a revolving phone call of people with emergencies in Brownsville. It's one of the most hopping places for law enforcement, trust me. So I get it. They don't have much time to just stand around and keep questioning something like that when they're being told that he's okay. We had contacted earlier that day when we were driving down there, the Texas Adult Protective Services to get them involved as well. And they also sent law enforcement out there to do a welfare check. But before they could get there, this person was no longer around. So they weren't able to find anyone. They then went to the hospital, but he'd already been released. So they're doing their investigation. We've now got law enforcement doing their investigation. Me and Mike are doing our investigation. We're trying to put all the pieces together. About 1 o'clock, we had got there before sunset. About 1 a.m., we finally are able to get an officer who talks to a friend, who talked to a friend, who talked to a friend, who we found on Facebook, who then started, I mean, it was literally a chain of people over a period of several hours to get us to one person that had Rusty in their home. And we literally didn't know what we had there, other than they put me on the phone to this person who said, Rusty's okay. And I said, put him on the phone to us. We want to talk to him. Rusty won't wake up. He's sleeping. Bullshit. What's your address? Where are you at? And he willingly gave this to us. And me and Mike jumped in our vehicle and we followed 2 deputies to that location. And in we went. And as it turns out, this guy, to all of our knowledge, at least so far, was a legit friend who knew Rusty, and Rusty had called and said, can you pick me up from the hospital and don't take me home because I fear that my wife's going to kill me and that she's involved with the drug cartel. So he did. He took Rusty to his home, laid Rusty down on the couch, and that's where Rusty was dying. Literally, that's where he was about to die. Everything about the entire, he hadn't been taking his medications. The hospital refused to see him anymore. They couldn't do anything else with him. In that hospital, by the way, if any of you, and I'm not going to mention who that is yet, but any of you that happen to be a part of that medical staff at the original hospital that he went to, where y'all kicked his ass out, if those stories become true from what we're hearing, there's going to be one hell of a lawsuit, because you cannot turn someone away because they are unable to financially pay for your services. That is a federal law, and there's more to come on that. But we ended up retrieving my vehicle, which this new wife had completely trashed from one end to the other. We, into the morning hours, were able to locate a cousin of his, of Rusty's. His name is Alan. Alan's a really great guy who stepped up and went and took Rusty back to his place, trying to get him back in the hospital, being told, no, we will not accept him. Mike and I now are back on the phones, calling law enforcement. We're calling the hospital. We're calling everybody we can to go, we just gonna let the guy die right here on this couch at the cousin's house? This is insanity. And finally, the Texas Protective Services said, the hell with it, call 911. At least get it documented that you're telling them to bring him to a hospital before he dies. And when I say before he dies, I've had the several times in my life where I've held people in their last minutes on this earth. And the things that happened to the body in those last few moments were literally happening right there in front of our eyes to Rusty. He had no idea who he was, where he was. He was about to die. We dialed 911 to get it on record. They sent an ambulance. The crew came in. They were very professional. They were very good. They worked with us. We told them what hospital we didn't want to go to and where we prefer to take him. And that's where he's at right now. He was completely dehydrated. All of the medications that he was on, he hadn't taken since his wife probably threw them all away because her intentions weren't to improve his health. It's our firm belief it was to destroy his health. The sooner, the better. As I speak, Rusty is slightly improving. He will probably never be able to go home because I don't believe he'll ever be able to walk again. So we're trying to get him into some type of assisted living facility or make some type of arrangements to where he can live out his final days in peace. It's my understanding that the wife is in custody at the moment. I had a run-in with her at about 3 a.m. along with Mike on the property. And she was 100% intoxicated beyond, she was stumbling. A taxi had brought her to the house and dropped her off. Where she'd been, I don't know, but she'd been drinking heavily. We escorted her off the property, called law enforcement to come get her, talked to Border Patrol about her. We did not physically see her be arrested, but if she wasn't, that'd be another video all in itself, because we were able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she has been abusing him. It's been admitted to us by him. We saw the injuries to his body, and she admitted to me and Mike that she only hits him when she's drunk. But she loves him and she cares for him when she's sober. She even apologized and said, I don't mean to do it, but I just do it. So where she's at currently, I can't say, but I do believe that she's in custody. We were able to find someone that's a friend of Rusty's to come get his dog. You see his dog right there. Her name is Candy. We had done a lot of stuff to help Candy out with the bowls you see down there that I purchased for her, and I got her some toys. This was a few trips back, actually, when that picture was taken. Candy is now safe on a farm with a bunch of other animals and lots of room to run around in. Rusty's dogs in the past have been skinned alive by the cartel, shot, heads chopped off, hung. I mean, you've seen the video. And I've got numerous videos we've done with Rusty about how unhuman these cartel members are. There is no physical border wall along Rusty's property to stop somebody from coming across the Rio Grande and onto his property. And then if they make it through his property and don't get apprehended by the dog or by Rusty, then they come across the levee that has a border fence on it and a big, huge open spot where you can drive 5 side-by-side M1 battle tanks through. There's nothing stopping you. So they actually have to have Border Patrol rotating shifts out around that area because you can swim across the Rio Grande, and if you get through his property, guess what? You're in America. and nothing's stopping you. So right now, it's a freaking party down there in Matamoros because they're completely aware of the circumstances. Trust me, they know that the gateway into America for drugs and sex trafficking has been opened wide right there along Rusty's property that they were trying to take. We've spoken to attorneys. We're trying to get this unethical marriage annulled at the minimum, because he wasn't of right frame of mind when he agreed to this. And now with all the other things that have come out, hopefully we can get that taken care of and stop the land from being taken by the cartel. And I ask that if you believe in the power of prayer, that you add Rusty to your prayers. You know, even if he survives the current injuries he has from being kicked in the head when he was on the ground, to his ribs, his stomach, his groin, his legs, even if he survives that, just his current medical condition before any of that, he only was given a short period of time to continue to live. So please add Rusty to your prayers. And I can't thank all of those enough that were involved in helping us pull this all together and find this man and get him into a hospital that actually gave a damn, because had none of that come together, he would have passed away. No doubt whatsoever. But today, he's living for now. I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines. I'll take some of your calls. We can discuss this situation, the border, or anything you want. And we're going to do that for about 15 minutes before we wrap up the show. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this quick break. Hello, American Patriots. Douglas Ducote here. The Second Amendment, it's not for hunting. It's for protecting ourselves against our government. Well, the last thing you need to worry about is your weapon being rusted and not working. Folks, here's your product. FirearmGuard.com. Use promo code DOUG for free shipping. This will protect your weapon from any rust and mildew issues.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
And we are back. Thank you for tuning in on Tuesdays and Thursday nights for this show. It is slowly but surely expanding, and we're picking up bigger and bigger audiences. We have a lot of plans for the near future. You will see a lot of different changes taking place over the next months as we grow and get bigger. There's so many things I'd love to share with you right now that we have in the works, but we're not at that stage yet, and I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, let's say, because there's although it seems like a very obtainable goal, it also seems like a million miles away, but yet there's so many good things that can happen with this show in a very short period of time. And it's all because of you, the American patriots, that tune into this show and that subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my videos and share them. And follow me at American Patriot by the Grace of God on Facebook and the Douglas Ducote Show on Facebook. And it's all about you, the American patriots. there was a gap. There was a something missing that I saw a long time ago with CNN and MSNBC going full-blown left, liberal, conservative, Republican hate speech. And then Fox News slowly following in that damn direction. And something needed to be done. Somebody needed to speak up that wasn't politically correct, was willing to call a spade, and speak the truth about what's happening in our political system, what's happening in all levels of our government, what's happening overseas, what's happening around the world, because you've been lied to for too damn long. And everybody's got to be so political correct that you can't get the truth anymore because they're too damn afraid to say the actual words that need to be said. And I don't care. I've served my time with honor for this country in the military and law enforcement, and now I don't answer to anyone but God and my wife. Other than that, I'm free to speak my mind, and I will do that until they put me in the ground. So help me God. I'm going to give you the truth. There's a lot of people out there attacking me. There's a lot of people making up YouTube channels and Twitter accounts pretending to be me, or just to trash my name and everything I've worked for, from the Veterans United for Justice work, my military career. I mean, there are some hateful son of a bitches that are on the left side out there that have nothing better to do than to trash my name and all the good work I've done. But that tells me I'm owned to something, and I've gotten under their damn skin. And that's when I realize that we're winning this war against the liberals. They're not.
Hey, Douglas, there's a couple calls being screened right now. But in the meantime, I just wanted to ask you, because it came up in the chat, a few things.
Sure.
Some people were talking about, one, would it help in any way for some people that live down in that area to organize some kind of visit to Rusty, bring him some balloons and flowers and things like that? Would that cheer him up? Is that something that would be worthwhile?
I think once we get him out of the hospital and into assisted living, then that would be wonderful. So we're already ahead of that, looking at a possibly GoFundMe site. We're looking at a lot of different options. We need to find out first, if you look at Texas Adult Protective Services website and you see all the things that they supposedly provide and do once they've accepted an investigation, then we don't need to do anything else as far as raise money. But that could be total BS for all I know. And I don't know.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I was just gonna say that we got some callers in, but I was just gonna say that was the second question that came up. Would it be worth setting up a GoFundMe? But I think, just to answer all your questions, because thank you, Guy. I mean, I had a chance to meet Rusty. It was the second or third time Doug had met him. I was there when we were interviewing him, the interviews that you've seen on tape, when all of a sudden, and he was in a convalescent home at that time, and Doug leaned in off the record, no camera on, and said, "I'm going to bring you my truck." I swear to God, I turned around and I literally started tearing up. And then I've seen Doug get involved, from that moment, helping this man with a lot of different things. And I was breaking Doug's balls the other day while he was giving me updates on the phone, because we didn't know if we were going to do shows and all the things he had to run around to save this guy. And I said, well, Doug, it's no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, Doug reminds me a lot of my uncle Danny, who's one of these guys. He give you the shirt off his back, and a lot of times it ends up, causing him, more problems in the long run. But this guy, Rusty, you see the video we played in the beginning. Part of that was from 2016. This guy, when Doug introduced me to him, I looked him up, and he's been on the news for many years talking about these problems. He's just a local landowner. He's not a politician or anything like that. So, it's very touching. But, so I think Doug will give you updates. Join the email list at the site, douglasducote.com/subscribe, and we'll put out updates if we're going to do a GoFundMe or if we can get one of the friends down there or family members to manage that. And then once they get Rusty into a home, I think it would be really nice if some people lived down there, went and visited him, because he's got friends down there, but he doesn't really have family down there. So that would be a good thing. All right, let's go to Kelly from Wyoming, Doug.
Hello, Kelly. You're on the Douglas Ducote Show. How are you?
Hello?
Hello, Kelly. Douglas Ducote here. Can you hear me?
I don't know if you're talking to me. This is Tilly.
Yes, ma'am. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm good. I'm sorry. He must have misunderstood my name. I'm like, well, that's close enough. First of all, I want to say bless you, Douglas, for everything you've done, sticking your neck out. Bless Marilyn, Dustin, and the rest of the team. I just wanted to call in and say a group prayer. Prayer and with many is so powerful. And if at the end of my prayer, if everybody could type in amen, that'd be cool.
Appreciate it.
Okay, well, I will start with the prayer then. Our kind and dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord Jesus, thank you for your many blessings. At this time, we are praying for our dear friend and comrade, Rusty in Texas. Please send your guardian angels to surround him, keep him safe, and to heal him. Bring those to him that can help and protect him. We ask this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and carry on, and I would love to help in any way I could. If I would have known something like that, of course, I live in Wyoming, but I'm the kind will go in and take care of people and do what I can, because I've been on that end before. I know how it feels not to have someone.
Exactly.
So God bless you, and
God bless you too.
You're welcome. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
And who do we have next?
All right, next we have Barbara from New York. Barbara, you're on with Douglas Ducote.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Doug. Hi. I can't use my last name, and I can't do this over the computer, so I'm so glad you're having a call-in. I've been praying for you like crazy since the march in Virginia, and I just have to say, I know that there is a higher power that's watching over you. Rusty's story just broke my heart, and I will also be praying for him. But I want to thank you, because you're like 1,000 times better than television, because you're working in the real world, and I'm in the real world. And I just want to tell you that there's nothing that can replace the goodness that people do to each other. Thank you so much, and don't lose your hope, because I'm hoping for you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, and God bless you. I appreciate it.
All right, and next we have Victoria from Arizona. You're on the Douglas Ducote Show.
Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Douglas. How are you tonight, Doug?
I'm doing okay. And yourself?
I'm doing okay. A little sick, a little illegal aliens disease going on here in Arizona. Thank you for what you're doing, your service in the past for our country, and what you're still doing today. We've been following you, my husband and myself. He's also a 15-year veteran in the Marine Corps. We've been following you for a long time. We support everything that you do. We love you to pieces. And your wife, a shout out to her. She's amazing. I follow her on Facebook. I just wanted to say something about this country. Do you sense that white people are being like attacked? I mean, do you sense that yourself, Doug?
Well, Yes,
sure
I
do.
do. As a matter of fact, I do.
Especially
And
white men.
yeah, white men with shaved heads, especially. I get called a racist and a bigot about 500 times a
Yeah.
day in many different ways. And it's very shameful. Those that know me
Yeah.
know that that is not true at all. So yeah, that's happening not just to me, but it's happening to a lot of people that I know, and we're seeing white people say it about white people, where they're not proud to
I
be,
wonder why that.
their own heritage. So you're right.
When do you think that we're going to stand up and start being on the offensive?
Well, I don't think it's as much about being on the offensive as it is prayer and speaking the truth and being open and honest about how you feel about your own heritage and how you feel about other people. Don't ever turn the cheek if given the opportunity to tell the truth. Whether it's about your race or politics. We just last night, for an example, there was a black male that was at a Bernie Sanders rally wearing a shirt that said "Black Rifles Matter" and it had an AR-15 on it. And a white guy attacked him and started beating him up and calling him a racist. So, it was because to them, the white liberals, guns represent racism and bigotry. And because he was a black guy doing it, that makes him the token black guy at the rally. And, this is it's insanity that this happened to this poor guy.
Yeah.
And luckily he escaped it, unharmed. But we got to stand up and we have to speak our mind. And I do that a lot.
Yes, you do. And we appreciate it. And as far as what I think needs to happen, this is more than just political out there. This is really a spiritual battle. And I hope everyone understands that. Like it's good versus evil right now.
Yeah.
And we really, it's serious.
Right.
We have
to
really
it's
get
more to a lot of people.
God.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, we need to pray more. We just need to pray. And I understand that. And yes, we do. But at the same time, God's calling on us to be proactive in his message, helping mankind.
Right.
And so if all you do is sit at home and pray and don't do things to help mankind, now I understand if you're not able to financially, you're not able to physically, due to your health or what have you, that's totally different. But for citizens or people that don't fall under that category to just say, all I can do is pray, then you're doing yourself and the country an injustice, because God's calling on us to stand up to the evil, and we have to do that. So thank you very much for calling in, and we sure do appreciate it.
I appreciate all that you do, and take care. And you are in our prayers. Take care.
Thank you very, very much. God bless you.
Take care.
All right. So next we have Reggie, I believe I think it's Reggie from South Texas. It's hard to, it didn't translate correctly, but Reggie from South Texas, are you there? Oh, I know why it didn't translate. It's breaking up a little. Are you there?
I am here.
Yes, hello. This is Douglas Ducote. Doing great. How are you?
I'm sorry. It seems like I got some crosstalk with like 2 or 3 voices. Yes, sir. Hello, Douglas. This is Reggie Longoria. Nice to meet you, sir. I just wanted to elaborate on what's happening down here where I live in Brooks County. With the cops you mentioned earlier down in the valley that we didn't want to contribute, there are a lot I'm sure you're aware of by now, there are a lot of corrupt officials down here that don't want to help. A lot of them are scared and bought by the cartel.
Yes, they are.
And, as a matter of fact, Douglas, I'm going to try to do what I can to contribute, because you actually know a couple of friends of mine that own a couple of ranches down here. One of them being my veterinarian, Mike Vickers. Anyway, I'm going to do what I can.
We've had the honor of meeting Mike.
I'm a retired Air Force vet, and I have nothing but time on my hands. And whichever way I can help contribute, I would love to.
Outstanding. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to meet Mike Vickers, and he took us around his property and introduced us to, sadly, all the people that have died on his property, and we've managed to see that and hear his testimony. He's a great guy that's doing fantastic work down there, trying to basically save lives, not take lives. And the corruption, yes, in Brooks County is pretty out of control with a lot of officials, but there are some down there that are doing great, great work. And we're going to be back down in Brooks County again very, very soon as we continue with our border missions. And thank you for your service, and we appreciate that. And thank you for calling in, brother.
Next up, we have Dan Golvach, who's actually a friend of the show. His son, Spencer Golvach, was murdered by an illegal alien, 4-time deported in 2015. But Dan wanted to call in because he has an interesting story about a close friend who went through something similar to what Rusty went through. Apparently, it's pretty common down there. So, Dan, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. How's it going, guys?
Hey, brother. How are you?
Oh, just putting one leg in front of the other. Just got off. Had a heavy work week last week. I did 5 gigs in a row, but I'm just was watching this, and it really got my attention about Rusty. And by the way, I just really appreciate what you guys are doing down there. Number one, at the border, and exposing a lot of this stuff. It's just so important. But I think the story that you're presenting tonight really brings up another facet of this problem that I think there's a lot of senior citizens and people in Rusty's situation that are even more vulnerable. I have a very close friend that was in an assisted living situation, and a young woman came along and kind of made him feel special, and over time she got information on him and was able to, long story short, scam him out of a lot of money. But an old guy that getting some attention from a beautiful young woman, it is what it is. And, the not necessarily, someone that lives in an assisted living, it's not quite like a nursing home, but it's a situation where your reasoning skills and your ability to spot a scam might not be as, intact as it's someone younger that's not in that situation. And I think that a lot of this stuff coming over the border is opening the door wide open to senior citizens being taken advantage of this way.
Yeah, that border is causing so much chaos. Not only with situations like what Rusty's going through, but what you went through, and with your son being, his life is gone because of this border. And to all the Angel families out there, my heart grieves for you guys, and I'm doing everything we can in our power to expose not only the problem with the border, but also the corruption involved with the border. And because that's the only way we can get something accomplished, is to keep pushing and moving forward and sharing stories and showing people reality, as opposed to the absolute BS coming from the drive-by media.
Right. And that's a good point. The corruption that you're talking about, it really kind of underscores the reason why you need to have National Guard that are under the command, the federal command down there, because if you're going to leave it up to local, sheriff's offices and or even the border patrol, some of those guys that live down there, I think that they're all susceptible to, taking that extra whatever they're going to get from the cartel to look the other way. And you've got to have a military type of situation down there where there's strict discipline, and there's a lot. It's much harder to do that type of thing. I think that I would say that the lion's share of people that should be doing something down there are probably given the option of, hey, either you take this money and look the other way, or we know where you live. And
exactly,
it's really time to get the National Guard, like you've always said. And I think this is important. Activated national. That's the key. Where they're actually able to do something.
Yes. Right now, I was pleased. I was pleased to see, Dan, that on this trip there were National Guard members down there on the border, but they were there to augment what was removed from the border, which is these TAC teams to go work with ICE in sanctuary cities. So that's great, but we need them on the border all the time, even when there aren't people removed to go work elsewhere. The National Guard does need to be down there, whether the state agreeing to it or activating them on federal orders, as we've been saying all along. But it was good to see some young men and women down there wearing the United States military uniform and happy to be down there. The ones that we talked to were like, they were like, look, we're not in Afghanistan anymore or in Iraq where their last deployments took them. They're doing something they felt honored to do, protecting their own country. So that's what I took out of it. It was good to see.
I would consider our border, but way more important. That's our front door. We're not in another neighborhood. That's our front door, and this is where a lot more Americans are being pillaged or murdered or raped or whatever, are destroyed by drugs because of the lack of security on the border than what anybody over in the Middle East might be doing to us. I'm not saying that we don't have, there aren't concerns in the Middle East. I'm just saying that in my mind, this border thing is a much, much greater threat, and it makes total sense to me to concentrate our resources and manpower, armed too, down there. And so, what you guys have, presented in the past about the terror wall and augmenting that with the National Guard armed, makes a lot of sense to me. I think we talked about 25,000. That may seem like a lot, but my question is, how much money do we spend every year, and how much manpower do we devote to North Korea and South Korea?
Exactly.
This is our country. And it seems like it should be a priority.
Yeah. We piss away more money than we will ever use to help,
Yes, if we had spent $7 trillion over the last 15 years securing our border, we could have built a Superdome over the top of our country. All right, Dan, thanks.
Exactly.
We got to get to these last couple calls and wrap this up. So thank you. Have a great night.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, brother.
All right, Doug. So just so everyone knows, I think what we'll do is we're going to shut the phone line now. So we've got 4 callers in the queue. I know some of these people were people that tried to call last time. So try to just keep the question to like a 30-second minimum. Let Doug respond, because we don't want to dump you guys, but we got to try to. We're over an hour, so we want to just try to wrap up. So we've got Jeff from Florida.
Hello, Jeff. You're on with Douglas Ducote. How are you?
Good, Doug. Hey, listen, I'm going to give you my take on this border. First of all, in my opinion, this is a big cash cow, not only for the CIA, but the corrupt politicians in Washington. And just one other thing, this William Barr, you know, this guy, I'm not so sure about him anymore. He's playing to two kings, the deep state and Donald Trump, and that's not going to work. And just one thing before I go, think about this for a minute. If your vote really counted, they wouldn't let us vote. Think about that for a minute there, Doug.
Yeah, I agree, brother. Thank you for the call. Yeah, you're right. It's you know, I no longer realize who is deep state and who's against deep state. It's starting to the lines are starting to go together.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, as we're queuing up here, we've got Kenneth from Virginia. Actually, Kenneth called in the Super Panel show last night, I think, and he was hoping that you were going to be on, Doug. So, Kenneth from Virginia.
Hello, Kenneth. How are you?
How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing all right, brother.
Well, yeah, my heart does go out to you because I've actually been in that situation once before. A friend of mine took his life there, and with the corruption of our man in blue, one of them made a little remark. You know, it was a rude remark because my friend was actually, you know, colored, saying typical, you know, and, you know, that was just, it was unnecessary. As for the border, yeah, they definitely need to do something about that because, you know, an illegal Mexican had came over into our area, got with a member of our community, and, you know, they ended up in a fight. He was actually working for a local funeral parlor. He killed her and buried her body in the cemetery. Now,
That's
if
horrible.
there was, you know, something to stop him from coming over, she would be alive today.
Right.
So, yes, something definitely needs to get done.
Yeah, I agree. And there's more people losing their lives on that border than anybody can ever possibly imagine. And you know, we're going to keep bringing that to the American people and showing you what's happening down there. Thank you for your call, brother.
You too.
All right, next up we have Leonard from Kansas, and then Tammy from New Jersey. Just stay right there. As soon as we're done with Leonard, we'll bring you on, and that'll be the last caller. So Leonard from Kansas, you're on with the Douglas Ducote Show.
Hello, Leonard. How are you?
Yeah, Doug, I'm good. Appreciate what you do. Hey, on these Texas laws, don't they have a posted no trespassing where you could shoot at these people? I mean, not to necessarily kill them as they're coming across, but maybe chase them back across the border?
There's stand your ground law there. I mean, you know, but you have to have your life, you know, you have to fear that your life's in danger. You can't just shoot them when they come out of the Rio Grande. You know, it's what it is.
Yeah, okay. And then I was reading an article the other day about the climate change, which if we took away all the funding for all the research and everything, they spend over $22 billion a year from the federal government. That would more than take care of anything that we need for the wall, including soldiers or whatever we would need.
Yeah,
And
well, if we took away the
farce.
money we're spending
It's a proven
on
sham.
yeah, just take that money we're spending on giving them free shit and put it towards the wall,
Well, that
and
too.
we'd have this taken care of. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wasted spending that's going on in the government, and that brings up another thing. It's Article 5 in the Constitution that I'm hurrying, that we can call for the states to have a convention of the states. If everybody would go to that website, conventionofthestates.com, and read it and go through it, it gives the states the ability to put in amendments to the Constitution where we could possibly put term limits on all these corrupt politicians that are up in Washington, D.C., to where they only get 2 or 3 terms, and they don't have the chance to get quite so corrupt. I mean, there's still going to be that no matter what you do. It's just an honest fact. But
Gotcha.
but the Constitution gives us that 34 states can call for a convention, and then they propose the proposed amendments, and then 38 states can ratify that, and that there isn't a thing that the Senate or the House can do about it. It will be ratified because that's in the Constitution in Article 5.
Yes, it is. All right. Thank you so much for bringing it to everybody's attention.
All right.
Please read it. You know, hey, thank you for the call. And for those of you that are, if you're an American citizen and you're not up to date on what all's in the Constitution, shame on you. Take the time to look it up. Hell, if you're watching this show, you know how to use Google. You know, read it. Learn what those amendments are all about. And what's our final caller?
Yeah, and there's 1,000 apps out there that you can download. The Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, Articles of Confederation, Constitution, Bill of Rights. I mean, you should definitely spend a week reading up on that. And I've been talking to, just so you know, Hillsdale College does a great free course on all these things, but they're very boring. I did them in my early 20s, and it's like classroom professors. I'm talking with Professor Nick Giordano, who's a regular on the show, and Doug's been on his podcast. He's a pretty exciting guy, younger guy. I'm actually in the process of talking with him about creating a series covering these topics in a more exciting way. And then also Timothy Shea, who's been on the show, he does some of this as well in a much more exciting way. And if we could work with them and then, run them here, cross-promote each other, and be able to get you guys these kind of courses in a fun fashion, then I think more people will have the time, be willing to listen to this in the car or watch it at home. So we've got Tammy calling in from New Jersey.
Hello, Tammy. You're on with Douglas Ducote. How are you?
And hi. I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. God bless you. And how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
You're very welcome. One, I just want to say God bless you to you and your wife and everybody all that you've done for Rusty. And I really enjoyed your empowerment for women that you did.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome. Thank you. Also, too, since you were talking about the Constitution, and I don't want to get too political because everybody asks my political views. They're American. And I agree people should start really paying attention to the Constitution. I think actually our elected officials, before even being able to file to run for office, I think they should take a test to see what they know. I think we should start requiring. There's too many people that get up there, and I don't think I don't like the squad. I think they're a bad representation of American women. And thank you for your service as well, because I come from a long line of military and law enforcement family members. I strongly believe that I know when you've served, I'm sure, in the Middle East, you're a guest in their country. You couldn't wear your crucifix. You had to hide. You had to do certain things with the Christianity because of that.
That is correct.
Well, I'm kind of getting to and I know that from my dad because he was in the Iraqi war in the 402nd military police. So I learned all this different stuff. But yet, when they come to our country, we're land of opportunity and we are changing our ways. Now, you're coming to our country, you're immigrating or becoming a guest, you follow our ways, and we need to declare English as our language. Then there won't be so many illegal immigrants getting disability because they cannot speak English.
I agree 100%.
And these are some of the things.
Yeah.
And as far as Omar and Talib, I think, has been really interested. These women actually do kind of harass and stalk, and that's actually not according to the laws, the Constitution, and the oath, they weren't properly sworn in. I think it's time for them to step down.
I agree.
And that's a fact, and that's coming from, I think they are a bad representation of American women since they're here, whether fraudulently, legally, but they don't represent as American women. And yes, I'm a proud white woman. So I just wanted to actually call in and say God bless you and thank you for your service, all that you and your wife do, and Dustin and Rusty, and thank God you found him, because I've been a caregiver for not just my dad, who is a veteran, World War II veteran, and there's nothing worse when somebody can do something like that. We need to protect our children as well as our elderly and our country.
Exactly. Thank you so much for the call, and God bless you.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, I just want to tell everyone, so now we're streaming on, obviously on YouTube, on the website, douglasducote.com, Facebook. Doug still has a Periscope, although he doesn't have a Twitter, so I'm going to try to dig up one of those. I might have a secret account laying around that I could attach it to so we can at least tweet it out. And then now, I know American Joe and all the Super Panel guys are all on DLive, DLive.tv. You can download the app, and they've been begging us. And I usually don't like to chase new pieces of technology because so many of these things fizzle out quickly, and you have to spend tens of hours to learn them and set them up. But then all of a sudden, we got a bunch of emails the last 24 hours. I don't know if Joe organized that, telling us to get on DLive. So we are on DLive under the Douglas Ducote Show. I think the handle is just Douglas Ducote. So there were some people watching it on there tonight, and I want to thank them. We're probably not going to spend a ton of time working on that because it's just too many things to manage all at once. And we're working on some kind of an internal app that we can actually break away from all of these guys and use them as secondary instead of primary. And then the other thing I just want to mention to the audience is, I don't know if you guys remember bordercommand.com. That's kind of how we started with the initial idea of the border investigation. That's been revamped over the last week or so. I put a lot of time into organizing the videos into blocks so you can watch what Doug started with last April, what we did with the border investigation so far, all the interviews he's done. I've been doing some side interviews because I know he doesn't have time to do everything, and I've been putting them in there. And then also, there's a forum there now that you could sign up for. I'm going to send out, I'll do it tomorrow, everyone who donated to Border Command so far, a free lifetime membership to it. For everyone else, it's 60 days free, and then it's $1 a week. And the reason why we're doing that, one is to fund it because we got to pay for hosting and everything. But really, it's to keep trolls out of there because trolls aren't going to go put their credit card into something that they're going to just go there to be an ass and to agitate everybody, because we want to be able to allow people to talk about the border, about immigration, share border stories with us, because we can't cover everything, obviously. So you guys need to become Border Command. You have to become Border Command, and then let us go out, cover the stuff on the ground, and then start pushing Border Command out to the news networks and alternative media as a place where real Americans are sharing stories. You got something that happened locally down in Brownsville, share the story on there, and then we'll try to pick them up. But we obviously can only do so much. So you guys need to become Border Command. You're Border Command. And that's it. So thank you to everybody who donated, and everyone who's watching on all these platforms, so you can find us all over the place now.
Yes, indeed. Well said, Dustin. Thank you so much, brother. Once again, please keep Rusty in your prayers. He's got a long way to go to get out of the situation he's in right now. We did the best we can, and we will continue to do things via the phone lines to make sure there's follow-up on all that. To all of you that took the time to watch the show and share it with your family and friends, we sure do appreciate it. Those of you that have donated, thank you very, very much. We do this for the American patriot. That's what this is all about. We do this for you. I can think of a lot of things that I could be doing, but unless it directly revolves somehow around American patriots and the Constitution and the truth, then it's not worth it. And this is worth it because we're making an impact and we're helping Americans. And that is what it's all about. Please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families serve too. Our angel families, our blue and gold star families, our president, and our country. Hope you all have a wonderful and blessed evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's show. Please go over to douglasducote.com and sign up for your email address. It is free. Costs you nothing. We hope to see you at our next show. Thank you. God bless you all. For now, I'm Douglas Ducote, and I'm out.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.